Hi, little notice here before starting. Some of the footage in this video is weirdly pixelated. I only saw how it was after I had already exported it. I don't know if the video quality got fucked up somehow while I downloaded some of them because of the file sizes, or if the editing software just really didn't like them for whatever reason. But since I don't even know what caused it, I don't know how to fix it, nor do I really have the time for it. I'm really sorry about it. I'll try to make sure this doesn't happen again.
I have autism.
Going to Dark Souls 2 was an interesting thing for me. I had simultaneously heard so much about it, but also nothing about it. Meaning people had said many a times how it was a step down from the previous game, that they made so many dumb decisions and that I even should just skip it and go directly to Dark Souls 3. But they always spoke about these things in very vague terms, not wanting to spoil anything. Suffice to say, my curiosity was at a peculiar high. Released in 2014 and developed by From Software and released by Bandai Namco once again, Dark Souls 2 was probably one of the most anticipated sequels to come out during the first half of the 2010s, which today seems to not be remembered very fondly. What would that be? Well, I suppose it's time to cut the bullshit and just head on in. This version I played was a Scholar of the First Sin one, so I got to also experience the Lost Crown DLCs. For better and for much worse.
Well, this sucks.
The game starts pretty much the same as it does in 1. You're a nameless nobody that is thrust into a world of torment, misery, and a many a game overs. Oh, well, I guess not technically nameless, you are the bearer of the curse as opposed to being the chosen undead like the first one. Going through these games, I really wished that I would care more about the in-universe lore. Like, is the old dragon slayer you encounter here the true Ornstein, since so much of stuff in Honor Lando was an illusion made by Gwendolyn? Or was that guy the real deal and this is just a pale imitation? Or are both of them fakes? Who knows? I certainly don't. But I also don't particularly care. It's hard for me to be invested in a concealed story that needs to be pieced together bit by bit. It's a very interesting method of storytelling, and I applaud From Software in their attention to detail and small nuggets of information that they trust the player to put things together. It just will never be something I'm into. Don't worry, I'm fully aware it's a me thing. Your controls are almost identical from the previous one, minus a slight decrease in your movement sluggishness. One small yet welcome thing is that jumping was made much simpler. No longer is it clumsy as running, release the run button and then quickly tap it again, which I was only able to do half the goddamn time. Now all you need to do is click the thumbstick while you're running. The overall design is practically identical, so I don't feel the need to repeat myself from the first review. Explore places, fight bitches, discover new gear, and do tango with varying bosses. Then the graphics, my lord, this game is about a decade old and still looks absolutely fabulous after all this time. I don't know if that speaks to more how high the graphical fidelity is here, or just how bad shit ugly a lot of newer games are. Probably a little bit of column A and B. One big question that jogged my old noggin when going in was, is this going to be harder than Dark Souls 1? And the answer is yes, by far. Is it harder for good reasons? Well, you see, I guess we should start going into all the things Dark Souls 2 improved on and not improve upon. I do want to recognize all the quality of life improvements made here. Firstly, bonfires. From the get-go, you're able to use the warp mechanic, and every single bonfire is now eligible to warping. And not only does it show the name of the place, but it also shows a picture of the area, making it much easier to differentiate between them. It's now possible to respec your stats using the soul vessel at things betwixt— fuck, I hate saying that place's name out loud. Which is something I really could have used in Demon Souls.
You weren't there.
Holy shit, that's a great addition. Every time you rest at a bonfire, you automatically restore your weapons usage, without needing to spend any souls to do it. Though this does result in one downside, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Speaking of weapons, you can dual wield weapons, and the best part is that if you're dual wielding weapons that are the same class, and press the button that usually makes you two-hand a weapon, you activate power stance. Now you can use both of them simultaneously in a glorious, blood-shedding style, which I personally took great pleasure in. Oh, my two great swords and I made absolute bitches of the normal enemies, as well as a lot of the bosses.
Boy.
The one to my right I named Mars, after the Roman god of war, symbolizing the eternal carnage and destruction to follow in its every wake, and the one to my left I named Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. Anyway, how is your sex life?
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
You can now equip one additional weapon in both hands and have 4 ring slots instead of 2. Use the run button, you can climb up ladders much faster, and one thing that I didn't do, but wish to give props to, is the bonfire aesthetic. If you burn this consumable item at the bonfire, it will raise the area to the next playthrough's level. As in, if you're playing New Game Plus, it will raise it to New Game Plus Plus. Since it respawns the enemies and the boss of the area, you'll have a nice chance to farm up souls, as well as getting the items that respawn. Things found in metal chest not included though. There are other smaller changes like being able to cancel your gesture in mid animation, but those are the ones I really wanted to go over. So, there was the good. Now for the bad and the ugly. When I took a drink of the SS flask, I thought, wow, that's quite a while to do. That would be because there's a new primary attribute called Adaptability, and a secondary attribute under that is Agility, which determines how many invincibility frames you have when rolling or backstepping and how much time it takes to down a consumable. Here you can see the difference of me drinking an Estus at the very beginning of the game and when I had 25 Adaptability. The difference is staggering when you're in the middle of the fight. So why in the fuck would they make this something you need to upgrade? Like, you get a shitload of level ups in this game, to be fair. Hell, I was level 200 when I finished the game, and that's without farming. It just makes the early parts before you got your agility up so much more annoying than it needs to be. That combined with the fact you only start with one SS flask this time. Now, the idea of finding more flasks as you go through the game is fun and all, but starting off with just one, forcing you to use the life gems instead, that takes so long to replenish your HP. And of course the fact the life gems don't get replenished at the bonfire, so at the very beginning you're just going through every nook and cranny hoping to find more. But then by the time you're at the end game and you have a dozen flasks, hopefully, you barely have any use for the life gems. I really think the appropriate number to start you off would have been 5 flasks. A nice segue from health recovery to your health bar. Just like in DS1, when you die, you become hollow. Two differences here are that A, being hollow doesn't prevent others from invading you, which is whatever in my opinion. The bigger issue is that dying decreases your max HP by 5%, and it can go down as low as 50%. The only way to negate this is with a human effigy. I despise this mechanic. You're trying to get through a particularly tough area or beat a boss, you lose, but now, oh, have fun trying that again except with less HP, good luck. Faggot! And since you don't come by human effigies too often, you really need to let your HP fall at least a few times before it's worth using one. Now yes, there are some ways to farm them, and with the Ring of Binding you lose only 2.5% instead of the full 5, but all this just makes me ask, why? Why inflict such a stupid punishment upon dying, especially in a game where you famously die all the goddamn time? That's something that's a bit reminiscent of Demon's Souls, though back then it was cut fully in half. There are a few other things that make me think of Demon's Souls, and not in a good way. Oh yeah, remember that downside I mentioned about automatically restoring weapon users at bonfires? Well, I guess to compensate for that, weapons will break a whole lot quicker here. I can't remember any time actually breaking my weapon by using it too much in the previous game. Here, it happened a couple of times, and many more times when I was on the very brink of breaking if I hit even a few more enemies. The pacing is also something that took a nasty hit, because in order to level up, you always have to go back to Majula, the main hub of the game. I did not realize how much I appreciate being able to level at the bonfires in Dark Souls 1. You just sit down, select what you want to level up, and you're back at the saddle. But here you sit down, select to travel to Majula, loading screen, go talk to the Emerald Herald, pick your level ups, sit down again, select where you were, loading screen again, and now you can resume. It kills the momentum. Though, there will be 2 very good reasons to go back to Majula as often as possible.
Oh, good morning, madame. You are looking full and robust today. You are blossoming like the most beautiful flower in all of Samaria. Oh yeah, one more thing. Your tits are fucking fantastic.
I could swallow these changes a lot easier if the overall design and experience was as good as it was the last time, but it just isn't. This boils down to 4 major factors: the areas themselves, the bosses, the enemy spam, and the inconsistency. First, so many of these areas are just plain annoying to get through. The Cave of the Dead is short but more than painful to make up for it. The Black Gulch has some weird fetish for these statues that inflict poison. Shrine of Amana is filled to the brim with sniping priestesses. Harvest Valley forces you to run like the Flash to not get killed by the poison, or just sit down and wait for the poison meter to go all the way back down. No Man's Wharf gives new many to enemy spam, and the frigid outskirts. I do not believe I possess the ability to produce the words I require to sufficiently portray the feelings I bear for this place. So instead I sought out the assistance from one of our generation's most brilliant voices and thinkers, Scott Wozniak. Please go ahead, Scott. Thank you, Scott. The stories were true. This is the worst area in all of Soulsborne. I say this even though I haven't played like half the games. I'm just gonna assume and pray that it is. A blizzard that blocks your ability to see most of the time, brutal reindeer enemies that you can't really run away from, and even when you know somewhat where you need to go, it takes such a long time to get there. All of which culminates in the worst run back I've experienced. Congratulations, Maneater and Old King Alec. You can now step down from your shared podium of awfulness in that department. Again, we are going backwards to Demon Souls territory with runbacks to certain bosses being just fucking obnoxious. The Run, the Gang Squad, the Blueberry Flavored Smelter Demon, Sir Alone, the Executioner's Chariot. Really doesn't help that the Fogwell invincibility was gutted like a fish. Oh, go, 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 go. Wow. Specific word, I'd say just... Oh no, come on. Let me through, let me through, let me through, let me through. Thank you. This... Fuck off! Fuck off! That's so fucking stupid!
Monkas tilanteet.
Now, I'm not upset that I can't just rush through the whole game. I'm upset because I've already made it through these areas, slowly and methodically, and I just want to get another shot at the boss, but now I'm either forced to take care of the enemies every single time, or try to just run the boss and risking me dying while going through the Fogwell, losing my souls in the process and trying the whole thing again. With, may I remind you, less health. Moving on to the bosses, they are the textbook definition of hit and miss. This clip should summarize perfectly what you're in for.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
I have two candidates for the worst boss of this game, and for very different reasons. Firstly, the Ancient Dragon. I'm sure many people are surprised by this hot take. Hot take, because it's a fire-breathing dragon. Fuck you, it was funny. This big scaly son of a bitch is packing nearly 20k HP, which ain't too far from the final boss. And by final boss, I mean all of them put together. He has only a few attacks, but they are a pain to dodge, and his stomp is basically an insta-kill. That's a fantastic combination. A boss that takes eons to beat, but has hard to dodge attacks that you can't afford to get hit by. It's difficult in all the worst ways. Now, the complete flip side of that is the Royal Rat Vanguard. It's just a bunch of regular rat enemies, but one of them has a mohawk. And you need to hit the one with the mohawk. It's boring, it's piss easy. It's literally just an infestation of normal enemies with one of them masquerading as a boss. Thankfully though, there are some outstanding ones here, and they're some of the best bosses in the series. Sir Forever Alone, Absolutely Fuming Knight,
Look here! Look, listen!
Glass Knight, and my personal favorite, the Helter Smelter.
Are my number one.
Then the third major factor I mentioned, enemy spam. Pretty self-explanatory. The game just loves to throw a ridiculous amount of enemies at you in some place, and it gives an unfortunate sense of laziness. Because that is the easy and quick way to make something hard. Just overwhelming numbers. But it doesn't make for very appealing level design. Lastly, the inconsistency. I noticed on multiple occasions how attacks from the enemies would miss me, but I'd still take damage. I don't expect the game to be 100% accurate on every single hit, but this is just ridiculous.
They are annoying.
Out!
Yeah, how did that hit you?
God!
That shouldn't have hit you.
I'm gonna call shenanigans on that one.
Fuck! Come on.
You!
Oh, what?
I go bullshit on that one. Come on. Oh.
What?
Although there were a couple of times where I was spared from an obvious hit by this as well.
Oh, boy.
No.
Whoa.
How did I?
Another miracle. How did that second swing miss?
Don't know, don't care.
Oh, what the?
Oh! Dude, I got lucky there. Also, what is this enemy AI? Of course it's locked. What? Sir? Sir? What the fuck? Oh, he's almost
What's he
halfway.
doing? What the hell was he doing? What are you doing?
That's a good question.
What the hell's
Sir?
going on over?
Sir, are you quite alright? Is something the matter? Did I call someone? Do you have someone taking care of you? Look at this rod.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't fucking know. Okay, I guess one of the sentinels have Down syndrome.
He's lost. Yeah. Well, okay. Okay, I'm just gonna go home now.
Bitch.
What's he doing?
Oh my god, he is a
He was a retard.
boy. I said boy. Boy. Oh, now, yeah, now you want to wake up. And as a bow on top, bullshit traps. Oh! What the fuck? Oh my god! Oh! Okay, that is so cheap. That is so fucking cheap. Fuck you. Whoa!
Oh dear.
Really? Oh, right, torches. They're here. They're borderline useless. Who gives a shit? Why were they here? Now, after all the complaining I've done in this video, you might think I hate the game.
Yes, but actually no.
I don't, because even with all the things dragging down Dark Souls 2, there is still an overall decent experience underneath. Reaching new bonfires is still rewarding, fighting the normal enemies is still fun, except these guys. Fuck these guys. Working towards a specific build is still exciting, and beating a hard yet fair boss is still absolutely euphoric. And like I said, there were improvements done. Just a lot of the core structure was mishandled. I have no doubt in my mind that Hidetaka Miyazaki being only a supervisor instead of the director had something to do with the hiccups. At the end of the day, it feels like this game took 2 small steps forward and 3 large steps back. But with all that said, I give Dark Souls 2 a 6 out of 10. Mind you, that still makes this an above average game. I hear that Dark Souls 3 is most people's favorite of the trilogy, and I very much look forward to streaming it sometime next year. But the more important question is, what am I gonna name my character in that? I already burned through both the Game Awards, so I'm really gonna have to put my thinking cap on for this one. Goodbye.